In our regular meeting of Los Angeles City Council's Planning and Land Use Committee. Before we start, I believe that the clerk has some instructions to read with regard to public comment. We will have a 45-minute, we will have open public comment for 45 minutes, and as well as a specific public comment time for appellants and applicants. Clerk, can you call the roll? Or CLA, can you call the roll? I'm sorry.
Yes, Councilman. Councilman Harris-Dawson?
Present.
Councilman Bob Blumenfield?
Present.
Councilman Curran Price?
Present.
Councilmember Gilbert Cedillo?
Gilbert Cedillo, present.
Councilmember John Lee?
Present.
We have a quorum. Excellent. So to begin the meeting, we have a request to continue two items, items number 2 and items number 10. There's no objection. That'll be the order. Seeing none, we'll proceed from there. And then, Mr. Mejia, we have items 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. If you could read those into the record, there's a recommendation that we approve those items on consent.
Yes, Councilman. Item number 3, this is a report from the Cultural Heritage Commission to include the Desmond department store in CD14 as a historic cultural monument. The recommended action, Councilman, is to approve the inclusion of the Desmond department store as a historic cultural monument. Subsequently, item number 4, this is a city administrative officer report. It's authorizing the execution of a 4th amendment to contract number C122418 with Code Studio Inc. for the continued provision of consulting services to rewrite the city's zoning code. The recommended action is to approve the CAO recommendation to authorize the amendment number 4. Item number 5, this is a Cultural Heritage Commission report to include the Bonnet House as a historic cultural monument. The recommended instruction being to approve the inclusion as a historic cultural monument of the Bonnet House. Item number 6, this is a Cultural Heritage report to include the John, Larry, and Pauline Coons House as a historic cultural monument. The recommended action is to include it as such as in the list of historic cultural monuments. In item 7, council members, is a communication for the mayor relative to the reappointment of Diane Canner to the Cultural Heritage Commission for the term ending June 30, 2025. The recommended action is to approve the reappointment of Ms. Canner to the Cultural Heritage Commission.
Excellent. Thank you very much. If there's no objection, members, we will approve all of those items on consent. Seeing no objection, that'll be the order. Now I'll ask planning staff to read any amendments or changes into the record before we start public comment.
Gentleman President, do we have any amendments?
There is an amendment, council members. However, it's to motion, item number 8. Council District number 1 has requested a slight modification to the instruction. If you like, I can read that into the record.
Please.
Okay, so for item number 8, it is a motion, Cedillo Rodriguez. It's asking to incorporate a local hire requirement into the city's development agreements, and the modified language provided by CD1 is as follows. Amend the motion to state the following in the moving clause. I therefore move that the council instruct the planning department with the assistance of the city attorney to prepare and present an amendment to the city's development agreement guidelines pursuant to City Planning Commission case number 86-404 MSC, and report with recommendations on options for requiring that every development agreement for the construction of any project in the city include a provision requiring project applicants to enter into an agreement with the city or whomever is the most appropriate agency to incorporate a local hire requirement into all development projects, thereby ensuring the hiring of local residents, particularly but not limited to those in service sector occupations living in close proximity to the proposed project site.
All right, does that conclude our amendments or changes?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
There are no other amendments from planning.
Thank you so much. So if we can go back to item number 10, I believe we have a date specific that item would be continued to.
My understanding it's that item is a Charter 245 item. The item is being continued, I believe, to next Thursday. There should be a special plum meeting next Thursday, if that is the understanding.
Okay, so we'll continue that item for 7 days.
Correct.
We'll record 7 days as the continuance for that particular matter. All right, now I think this brings us to general public comment. Folks can comment on agenda items that we are considering today. And there's also provision for general public comment, which is limited to topics under the jurisdiction of this committee of the Los Angeles City Council. I will turn the floor over to staff to facilitate the public comment session.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, this is the clerk's. Staff is indicating that applicants and appellants were next.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
All right, we'll call applicants and appellants first. If you can indicate, if you all can introduce the applicants and appellants and let us know what item they're on. It probably makes sense, Mr. Mejia, that we would read the item before they come on. That's the normal way business is done. So if we could read the items that are appeals, I guess, and then hear from the applicants and appellants.
Sure. So the items remaining on the agenda that are appealed, council members, are item 9 and 11. Item 9, this is a sequel appeal filed by Margarita Lopez, and the project is located in CD1. It is a mixed-use project with 38 residential units, of which 4 will be for extremely low-income residents. And then item number 11, council members, this is an appeal, 2 appeals rather, that were filed as it relates to various land use entitlements for a mixed-use project in CD 11 that will consist of 39 permanent supportive housing units and 1 manager's unit. I should note that for this item, one of the appellants, appellant number 1, Michael Davitt, has withdrawn his appeal.
All right, if we can proceed with the applicant and appellant speakers.
Item 9, applicant Gary Benjamin. Can you please select *6 to unmute yourself?
Yes, this is Gary Benjamin. Thank you.
You have 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. Great. Good morning, committee members. I'm Gary Benjamin of Alchemy Planning and Land Use, speaking on behalf of the applicant, Albert Ganjan of Hoover 719 LLC. This project before you, it's an important development that will replace a vacant tire shop building at the intersection of Hoover Street and Leeward Avenue with new housing that will help to address our citywide housing shortage by providing 38 new residential condominium units. The project consists of 38 one-bedroom condo units, including 4 of which will be for sale, extremely low-income units. I think those are estimated to be around $100,000 or less in terms of the total purchase price. I have reviewed the materials submitted by the appellant and have discussed with city planning staff and have found that the appeal points raised specifically about the CEQA approval are without merit. with that, I don't really have too much more to say specifically about it. What the TOC approval that was approved for this case, as well as the condo map approval, are not at issue, but primarily the urban infill categorical exemption. And as stated, the city staff did complete the categorical exemption and found that the project was eligible and in line with the CEQA guidelines for categorical exemption. And so, with that, I don't have any further comments other than just that, hope that you deny the appeal, support this project, and allow for this important contribution of 38 new housing units to move forward at this location. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Time. Item 11, appellant Bill Christopher, you're now joined the call. Please select star 6 to unmute yourself. You have 2 minutes.
Council members, hi, this is Alan Amshes for item 11. This is Bill Christopher for item 11, the appellant.
There are 2 appellants, but we called on Bill.
Yes. Thank you, council members. On behalf of the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, I'd like to report that over the past 2 months, Archdiocese representatives on behalf of St. Mark's Parish and School, alongside representatives of the parish, worked with representatives of VCH and SPY to address the safety and security concerns of our parish community. Regarding the proposed supportive housing development next door to the parish community shares a long history of supporting the homeless. As Catholics in the Archdiocese and the parish believe in loving their neighbors and supporting their brothers and sisters in need. All parties are pleased that an agreement has been reached which addresses the parish and school community's concerns and provides important safety guarantees. This is thanks to the positive and productive dialogue with SPY and VCH. Therefore, the Archdiocese, on behalf of St. Mark's Parish and School, will no longer be opposing the proposed project and supports the project with integrated safety and security measures for the protection of the children and the community. Thank you, council members. We are withdrawing our appeal.
Thank you. Can you please put yourself back on mute? Item appellant Tracy Carpenter. Can you please select star 6 to unmute yourself? You have 2 minutes.
My name is Tracy Carpenter, and my appeal is on behalf of the overwhelming neighborhood opposition who know that this project endangers children. The media and the FBI are aware of the evidence and the entanglements involved. The city may not approve the density bonus and incentives in the record if the record contains evidence of specific adverse impact, which it does. Police records were submitted to city planning and start on page 1843 of the staff report. I also submitted them again on September 1st. The CPC staff refused to acknowledge these records in their staff report or in their rebuttal. VCH buildings are not safe. Their Gateway Apartments has 11 times more police and fire responses than the nearby comparable building. Assaults with a deadly weapon, batteries, burglaries. Police and fire have been called a safe place for use 117 times in the last 3 years. In January, there was a chain-wielding man from SPY threatening people and smashing windows, causing a lockdown at St. Mark's School. Neighborhood kids, including mine, are exposed to fights, needles, threatening people from SPY who loiter in the neighborhood after getting their free meal. Local businesses have submitted letters about their staff and customers getting harassed by SPY adults. Commissioner Mark Mitchell even said he's volunteered at SPY and seen the safety issues. Who opposes the project? The Venice Neighborhood Council voted unanimously to oppose it. The President's Row Neighborhood Association, parents of St. Mark's School, the overwhelming majority of neighbors and businesses who sent in 1,000 opposition letters. The LA Archdiocese before they dropped their appeal and let corruption win. They must know about the illegal unanimous voting system in the LA City Council where they all vote for each other's projects, so they took what they could get. Lincoln Apartments is still a clear danger to our community. VCH wants to use Prop 2 funding where there will be adults with serious mental illness with symptoms of psychosis with no requirement to seek treatment. SPY serves 23,000 meals a year, and those people are not screened for anything, and they cause most of the problems in our neighborhood. Things will only get worse when they go from operating 3 to 7 days a week when this project gets built. Other issues are scale, parking, recusals, in violations of open meeting laws. Mike Bonnet is also in violation of a public records request hiding emails specifically about this project from 2019. When we uncovered those emails, it could nullify the vote of this project. There is clear evidence that this project endangers children and is mired with corruption and backroom deals and favors. We won't be bullied by this city, our councilmen, or developers. We will expose the criminal vote trading and stand up for our kids.
That's your time, ma'am. You got to stop talking. Thank you.
Item 11, applicant Alan Apshez. You now have 4 minutes. Please select star 6 to unmute yourself.
Good morning, members of the committee. This is Alan Apshez from the Loeb & Loeb Law Firm representing the Venice Housing Corporation Lincoln Apartment Project. It's a 39-unit permanent supportive housing project at 2467 Lincoln. The project is being publicly funded by city HHH funds, state MHP funds, and tax credits, and is one of the many needed projects to end homelessness in Los Angeles. The goal of ending homelessness in Los Angeles cannot be accomplished unless every community in Los Angeles participates. The Venice Housing Corporation has done extensive community outreach and has worked closely with its neighbors. It's proud to report that the project's nearest neighbor, St. Mark's Parish and Elementary School, has withdrawn its appeal against the project and is now in full support of its approval and development. The remaining appeals should be rejected as recommended by staff. We want to thank staff and support its hard work on this project, and we do understand that dealing with the causes for and the solutions to homelessness are complex problems, and they stimulate strong emotions on all sides. This project is exempt from CEQA, as staff has advised you. In addition to the reasons for rejecting the remaining appeal, we'd like the city to recognize that the project is protected by the state of California's Permanent Supporting Housing Statute, Government Code Section 65650 through 65656. This is a subject that was not covered by your staff report, but it's really important that you understand it. This statute mandates the approval of permanent supporting housing projects that meet its criteria, which this project does. It also prohibits the application of subjective compatibility criteria to the consideration of permanent supportive housing projects. Therefore, although the Commission's compatibility findings are supported by substantial evidence and should be upheld, the city need not have made such findings in the first place. Finally, the state statute prohibits requiring any parking for permanent supportive housing units that are located within 1/2 mile of a transit stop, and in this regard, there are several transit stops that are located just 1 block away from the project at Lincoln and Ocean Park. For all of these reasons, we respectfully request that you reject the remaining appeal and that you adopt the additional 4 findings that we have recommended to you in our letter of September 1st. Thank you.
Thank you. We've exhausted all the applicants and appellants on the caller list.
All right. Thank you so much to applicants and appellants and to staff for facilitating that process. Mr. Mejia will now go into regular public comment. If you could read the instructions and help us kick that off.
Okay. The instructions being members of the public who would like to offer public comment on the items listed on the agenda should call 1-669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 161-644-6631 and then press number sign. Press number sign again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press *9 to request to speak. During public comment, city staff will call on members of the public by the last 4 digits of their phone number. Once you are unmuted, please state your name and the item that you are calling to speak on. Failure to do so will result in your call being muted and subsequently disconnected. Members of the public wishing to speak on one agenda item only shall have an opportunity to speak for 1 minute. Members of the public wishing to speak on more than one item shall present all comments during the multiple agenda item comment segment of the meeting and shall be allowed to speak for a total of 2 minutes. And then with the one additional comment, appellants and their representatives and applicants and or their representatives will be allowed to speak for a total of 3 minutes per side unless otherwise noted by the chair. That concludes the statement, Council.
Excellent. So if we can begin the regular public comment at this time, and we'll allot 45 minutes total for public comment in this meeting.
In this regard,
Caller 4013.
it is just one block away from the project.
You now have the floor. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Yes, is this for me?
Correct. Caller 4013.
Okay, because there seems to be a lag on the computer. I just want to say to the council, you do not achieve the goal of ending homelessness in Los Angeles by spending $20 million on 39 units. Let's be real. And I want to say that this whole project and the ramming through of it stinks really bad of corruption and illegal communication between committee members, Councilman Bonnet, the VCH, and SPY. This committee totally disregarded overwhelming opposition to this project. 1,000 letters from Venice residents, 200 from the immediate, 200 letters only from the immediate people living in the 500-foot radius of the proposed project. And I'm going to tell you, from the May 28th City Planning Commission meeting, the public meeting, after 4 hours of being on the call, somehow I was dropped from the call, myself and many others that I've spoken to.
Thank you. That's your time.
Thank you.
Failure to do so will
Caller 1498. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
Hi, my name is Amy Favat, and I'm calling to speak on item number 161-644-6631. My name is Amy Favat. I work in Venice, and I support Lincoln Apartments. As we all know, homelessness is a very glaring social problem in this city that has historically been met with a mixture of anger, fear, apathy, or there's nothing I can do by many. This can be the case no longer. Quick cosmetic remedies like street sweeps, moving encampments may look good on the outside for a very short time, but they are not true solutions, and we all know it. What is a proven solution is providing more affordable and supportive housing with services for our most vulnerable. This is a community problem, so it is all our responsibility. And the word community, by definition, means a feeling of fellowship with others and sharing common goals. We need to all care enough not just about ourselves and our own family, but others as well, and be courageous enough to take action. Social problems do not just go away simply because we yell and scream. Thank you.
Caller 2152, you now have the floor. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hi, my name is Norma Ambrosio, and I'm supposed to speak on item number 11.
You have 1 minute.
Hi, my name is Norma Ambrosio, and I've been both a resident on the west side and a property owner in Venice for over 30 years. I raised my children here, and in fact, I actually raised my children at St. Mark Church, and I will continue to do so, even given the building of the Lincoln Apartments. I wholeheartedly support it. I'm very relieved to find that St. Mark and the Archdiocese has dropped the appeal, because housing first is the right thing to do. My daughter has been an administrator at the school, and she's completely supported the project as well. We know that there are concerns for children's safety, and the statistics that are quoted by people like Tracy Carpenter and other people who employ NIMBYism also don't take into account the statistics with people who are left on the street. And so it's the right thing to do. We completely support the Lincoln Apartments project, and will continue to do so. And we thank the work for VCH and SPY for what they're doing. And
thank you. That's your time.
Thank you.
Caller 4100, you now have the floor. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on. Caller 4100. Caller 5898, you now have the floor. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on. Caller 5898. Caller 4100.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
I'm John Wellbank. I'm calling for item number 11, Lincoln Place.
Okay, you have 1 minute, sir.
Thank you. My background is that I am a 14-year resident on Garfield Avenue. I love my neighbors. I think highly of them. But I also think that there's sometimes needless fear. I am a former substitute teacher at St. Mark's School, a parishioner at St. Mark. I'm also a volunteer at SPY, and I've worked in mental health at the doctoral level. And I can say again that I think fear is the problem here, and that desperation sometimes makes that worse. And so if we can give secure housing to these clients, that can alleviate the fear. So I support Lincoln Place and ask the council to do likewise. Thank you. My background is that I'm a 14-year resident on Garfield Avenue.
Caller 3220, please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
Linda Lux, the item that's up now, Lincoln Apartments.
Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
Linda Lux, Venice Community Housing Project Lincoln Apartments. Number 11. Excuse me, number 11.
You have 1 minute, ma'am.
Desperation sometimes makes that worse. So if we can give secure housing, that can alleviate the fear.
Caller 3433, please state your name and the item you wish to speak on. Caller 3433, please state your name and the item you wish to speak on. Caller 3433, could you press *6 to unmute yourself, please? Caller 7131, please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
Hi, my name is Christine Christensen, and I live, am I speaking right now?
Yes, ma'am. Hi.
Okay.
Please speak the item you wish to speak on.
I'm going to speak on the appeal of the Lincoln Apartments by the Archdiocese.
You have 1 minute.
Thank you. My name is Christine, and I live within 500 feet of this proposed development, and I'm in strong opposition to this. The issues of safety, size, no parking required, all degrades our neighborhood and will make our neighborhood an unsafe place for our youth. Spy already has been a crime magnet, and to double the size and hours of its operations, and then to stick a 40-unit apartment complex with residents with mental instabilities and at-risk behavior on top of it with zero safety precautions required is irresponsible. I have gone to Spy, and I've spoken to the director about their clients for fighting in front of my home, and was told to call the police if there are any problems in the neighborhood with their clients. They have no way to control the adults that they service now, and they know it. And they're resistant to taking any responsibility in the future. This puts a huge burden on our neighborhood, the police department, and our taxpayers' dollars.
Thank you. That is my... Caller 7855, please state your name and the item you wish to speak on. Caller 7855, you now have the floor. Caller 7855. You may be muted. Please press *6. No. Caller 0766, you now have the floor. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
My name is Jacqueline Kim, and I'm speaking on behalf of support for the Lincoln Apartments.
We have 1 minute, ma'am.
The need for Lincoln Apartments has never been more urgent or relevant than this moment in history. I have a friend, someone who got housed almost 3 years ago. The improvement was stunning. I saw Joanne on a bus, and she didn't look down or away anymore. She looked in my eyes. She didn't try to leave due to chronic trauma. She wanted to stay and have a conversation. Resilience isn't tested through a couple of problems thrown these people's way. It's 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year. We worry about a virus and hope it will pass. They live with these conditions indefinitely and hope it won't worsen. Another friend isn't doing as well, but he's fighting. Just yesterday I saw him carrying 6 or 7 bags, his legs bearing too much weight to move well, rushing to buy some ice. We have brutal temperatures headed our way this weekend, and I hope he can survive. SPY's 6-year history on this land and VCH's 32-year history will grow Lincoln Apartments in a tried and proven way and help it become what it aims to be, a bridge for those who, like Joanne, deserve a chance to heal and thrive. Thank you. Ending in 0828, you now have the floor. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on. Last 4 digits, 0828. I lost a caller. Caller number ending in 8166. You now have the floor. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on. Hi, call number ending in 8166?
Yeah.
Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
Susan Millman, item 11.
Thank you. You have 1 minute.
I never heard it. They just came and asked me. I was just on hold.
You can begin your public comment now.
Hello, I'm Susan Newman. I'm a 35-year Venice resident and property owner. I have witnessed the gentrification of our beloved community and the rise of NIMBYism. I completely support Lincoln Apartments. It is the right project at the right time as we face multiple crises. One, of course, homelessness. Lincoln Apartments is permanent supportive housing where each tenant has a lease, case manager, wraparound services, managed by homegrown, highly respected Venice community housing. Working in Venice for over 30 years, it will provide opportunities for young adults and literally save lives. Please reject this appeal. Thank you.
Caller with the number ending in 5488. You now have the floor. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
Barbara
Call with the last digit.
Hello?
You now have the floor. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
Thank you. On the Lincoln Apartments project, this is Barbara St. Thomas, Board President of Safe Place for Youth. I fully trust that as overseers of planning and land use for LA, that you see the merits of this project. It not only addresses a solution to Venice's homeless crisis, but does so with such a beautiful and thoughtfully designed building. VCH and Safe Place for Youth are so highly regarded as service providers, and this project can, with its purpose and aesthetics, can only uplift the Venice community. I'm so grateful for them, and thank you for the time.
Call number ending in 7622. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
Yes, Orlando Nava speaking on behalf of agenda item 11, the Lincoln Apartments.
You have 1 minute, sir.
Thank you. I'm Orlando Nava, case manager at Venice Community Housing Venice Youth Build Program that serves transitional age youth. However, today I'm speaking as a father of a child in elementary school in the nearby neighborhood of Mar Vista. I can say in the years that he has attended the school, there has not been a single report to parents that the homeless in the surrounding area have tried to harm these children. Let's stop demonizing these young men and women. Instead, channel that energy to positively impacting the next generation. I support the Lincoln Apartments. Thank you.
Call number ending in 3676. You now have the floor. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
This is Maria.
Caller 3676. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
This is Andrea Reed-Simon. I want to speak about supporting Lincoln Apartments. I lived in Venice for 28 years. We own our home and raised our family here. I volunteered at Safe Place for Youth Welcome Center for the last 4 years. I support Lincoln Apartments because the project responds to the continuing and escalating housing crisis, providing much needed affordable housing and associated services to serve young adults experiencing homelessness and those experiencing chronic homelessness. Additionally, they are being built based on best practices and proven results. Whereas community housing has made numerous changes to design based on community input and making every effort to meet the local neighborhood and community leaders. I want to thank the Commission for their continuing support for this project. I'll take it to go ahead. Thank you.
Caller ending in 2324, please state your name and the item you wish to speak on. Call number ending in 2324, please state your name and the items you wish to speak on. Caller 2324.
Jennifer Martinez, and I think item 9.
You have 1 minute, ma'am. Ma'am, you can give your public comment now.
Oh, sorry. Couldn't hear. Hi, my name is Jennifer Martinez, and I support Lincoln Apartments because youth like myself need affordable housing at their fingertips. And by providing the support to our youth, it's like providing support for a better future. Thank you.
Call number ending in 0253. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
Mary Ann Long, and I would like to speak on the Lincoln Apartments.
Thank you. You have 1 minute.
I support the Lincoln Apartments project because it gives the people who need it the most, the right to a healthy and safe home environment. Thank you.
Call number ending in 5381. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
Maureen Tomlin, Lincoln Apartments.
Thank you. You have 1 minute.
I have lived in Venice for 25 years, and I live within walking distance of the proposed apartments. I support the Lincoln Apartments because the project provides affordable housing and services to high-need populations in our neighborhood. It gets our homeless neighbors off the streets and helps them get their lives back together. It's the morally right thing to do instead of just punishing this vulnerable population or moving them to another place. Thank you very much.
Caller 3396. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
Walking distance of the proposed apartments. I support the Lincoln Apartments because the project provides
Call number ending in 3396.
populations in our neighborhood. It gets our homeless neighbors off the streets and helps them get their lives back together. It's the morally right thing to do instead of just punishing this vulnerable population or moving them to another place. Thank you very much.
Call number ending in 3396.
I speak on item 11. I am Clark Brown. I live at 20. I speak on item 11. I am Clark Brown. I live at 2610 Abbott Kinney Boulevard in Venice, which I've owned since 1976. I support the Lincoln Apartments for reasons set forth in my July 31.
We can hear you, sir. Please go on.
610 Abbott Kinney Boulevard in Venice. I support the Lincoln Apartments for reasons set forth in my July 31 5-page. Five-page written response to the appeal from the planning commissions. I support the Lincoln Apartments for reasons set forth in my July 31. Written response to the appeal from the Planning Commission's unanimous decision. I also concur with the comments of the other speakers who support the project. Thank you.
Callers, thank you so much for calling in. We really want to hear from you. Please turn off your device. Mr. Mejia announced that in the beginning, but please turn off your device once your name is called, or else it will be very confusing for you and for us. So please turn off whatever device you're listening on once your number is called. Thank you. We can resume public comment.
Caller 1115, you now have the floor. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great, thank you. Yes, I'm on the call for, my name's Sean O'Brien. I'm on the call for the Lincoln Apartments.
Thank you. You have 1 minute.
Okay, great. I've heard nothing as to how the meeting started, but anyways, I'm burning my time. I don't see how you can approve a permit, a process, when SPY is now under investigation with the Department of Justice. If I tried to go to DMV and register my vehicle and my paperwork wasn't in order, they would send me out and say, get your paperwork in order before you go. So regardless that this building has no parking, has inadequate parking, it's out of mass scale character, it's a danger to the neighborhood, to the schools, regardless of all that, SPY has listed themselves as a for-profit developer, and their paperwork's all over the place. You cannot have these, you cannot approve this project until they get their paperwork in order. We're talking $20 million plus, and it seems corrupt. Based on that, you're looking, I believe you'd be looking at a huge lawsuit. So please vote no on this. Thank you.
Call number ending in the last 4 digits, 2794. You now have the floor. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on. Call number ending in 2794. Call number ending in the last four digits 1493. Hello? Last four digits 1493.
Yes.
Can you please state your name and the item you wish to speak on?
My name is Janice Spire, speaking on item 11.
Thank you. You have 1 minute. You can begin.
I live within 500 feet of the proposed project. I'm opposed to this project, and I ask you, does my voice matter to you? City Planning Commission didn't even give me time to speak. The CPC ignored hard evidence, not fear, of crime and a record of increased criminal activity wherever this developer builds and where this service provider serves. And they will continue to serve not just the residents, but thousands of outsiders who come for their free food pantry. Isn't that against the city clerk's definition of a supportive housing provider? Spending $20 million for 39 non-sober units is irresponsible, and with 66,000 to house. Judge Carter orders you to spread housing across all neighborhoods. CD 11 instead wants to put 48% of it in Venice. Please stop this project, which puts children at severe risk of harm. Thank you.
That you can get a sunburn in 4 minutes.
Caller number ending in 7297. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on. You now have the floor.
My name is Melvin Shear. I'm speaking on behalf of the Lincoln Apartments. I've been a Venice resident for over 50 years, and I'm overwhelmingly in support of this housing. I'm surrounded by encampments of homeless, and I've seen the positive effects of finding a home for them. They are good tenants, proud of their new surroundings. I also have experience with youth at risk, and the life-changing ability of having a home is so dramatic, and having them have a fertile ground for development of their potential as individuals and citizens. Thank you.
Caller with the last four digits, 1992. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on. Last four digits, 1992. Caller 1992, you now have the floor.
Hi, my name is Sasha Marion. I'm speaking on agenda item 11.
You have 1 minute, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Sahara, and I live in Venice and also work for Safe Place for Youth. I'm in wholehearted support of Lincoln Apartments. Ultimately, what many naysayers to the project are stating is that they don't want their youth to be affected by our youth. This divide in rhetoric is extremely problematic and inherently racist when the majority of our youth are Black and brown youth. Additionally, many of the issues addressed by naysayers have been largely addressed by the church and in collaboration with Venice Community Housing and SPI, so ultimately many of the complaints are futile. We need to help our unhoused neighbors because that's exactly what they are, our neighbors. I believe in a vibrant, inclusive, diverse Venice community. Thank you.
Don't do it when they're out there. There's some
Caller 1647. Caller, please turn down your speaker and begin speaking. State your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hi, Rick Darby. Wish to speak on item 11.
You have 1 minute.
I'd like to say I support this project. I'm a big fan of permanent supportive housing. I've seen the benefits of it on Skid Row, and I think we need to have more of this in Venice. I'm also a big fan of Safe Place for Youth. I'm a public health researcher, and I have worked with Allison Hurst and Safe Place for Youth for many years. I've seen the results of their program, and I'm looking forward to seeing the program expanded to include a residential component. And I also think the location of this project is perfect on Lincoln Boulevard, right next to the bus stops and along a busy corridor. So I hope you'll deny the appeal and let this project go forward. Thank you.
Caller 1796, please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Yes. I've seen the results of that program, and I'm looking forward to seeing the program expanded to include a residential component. And I also think the location of this project is perfect on Lincoln Boulevard, right next to the bus stops and along a busy corridor. So I hope you'll deny the appeal and let this project go forward. Thank you.
Caller 7924, please state your name and the item you wish to speak on. Please turn your speaker down and begin speaking.
Hello.
Caller, please turn down your speaker and begin speaking.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I'm calling about item number 11.
You have 1 minute.
My name is Lori Pincus, and I'm a supporter of the Lincoln Apartments. I believe that homes are the only solution to homelessness, and I think the Lincoln Apartments is an excellent development. Thank you. Goodbye. Okay, so that came on my phone.
You got to turn down your device. You got to get the volume down. It'll help a lot.
Caller 6481, please state your name and the item you wish to speak on. Please turn down your speaker and you can begin speaking now.
And I think the Lincoln Apartments is an excellent.
Caller 6481, please turn your speaker down. Okay. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on.
My name is Katie Collins, and I am speaking on item number 11, the Linking Housing Project.
You have 1 minute, ma'am.
Okay. As a member of the Venice community for over 10 years and a supporter for Safe Place for Youth who exists to help support the most vulnerable homeless individuals in our community, I have strong support for the Lincoln Housing Project. It's well known that roughly 60% of the homeless youth are runaways from unsafe environments, physical abuse, sexual abuse, or even worse. Many have been kicked out by their parents or caregivers and have nowhere to go. A lot of times this is because of homophobia or transphobia or even parental mental illness. Also, 20% of these kids come from foster care systems, and they need our help. They're definitely the most vulnerable members of the homeless neighbors on the streets in Venice. And because of this, I think we should embrace the Linking Housing Project. They are a lifeline for the homeless neighbors in our community, and it's an opportunity for new beginnings for the homeless neighbors. Also, it helps get them off the street, helps offer support for them to get their lives on track with things like education, jobs, and mental health support.
That's your time.
Thank you.
Caller 0770, you now have the floor. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on. Before you speak, can you please put down your speaker? You now have the floor. Caller 0770.
Jobs and mental health support.
Caller 0770.
Caller 0770. You now have the floor. Please state your name and the item you wish to speak on. Before you speak, can you please put down your speaker?
Hi, my name is Sarah Reynolds, and I'd like to speak on the Lincoln Apartments. You have 1 minute, ma'am. Thank you.
Caller 0770.
I was born and raised in Santa Monica. I'm 24 years old, and I currently live... Hello? Can you hear me? We can hear you. Okay. I would like to express my support for the Lincoln Apartments. I attended Smash, Grant Elementary, Jams, and Samuel High. I support the Lincoln Apartments because this is the best thing for the community that I know and love. I support the care and efforts of Venice Community Housing and Safe Place for Youth to support those with mental illness, which impacts those across all ages, housing status, and income levels. Housing is a human right, and this project helps to provide fair housing and improve public safety for the entire community. I respectfully request that the Commission rejects the appeal and upholds the original unanimous approval. Thank you.
We can hear you. Okay. I would...
Caller 2629, please state your name and the items you wish to speak on. Caller 2629. Caller, you can please put down your speaker and begin speaking now. Caller 2629. Caller 6888. Caller 6888, please state your name and the items you wish to speak on. Caller, please turn down your speaker and begin speaking. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Please turn down your speaker.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. The city of Los Angeles. The city of Los Angeles must cancel this blatantly expensive project and seek lower cost options. Building at 1,000 square foot is outrageous and offering only 6 parking spaces. Rooftop deck overlooking children's playgrounds is a recipe for disaster and a lack of privacy for school children. And there are better and less expensive methods such as shared housing, tiny homes, container homes. I say cancel this overly expensive project, use the force majeure situation due to COVID-19 because there's no reason DCHC should acquire yet another overly expensive project to add to their already extremely rich and land acquisition portfolio when the city of Los Angeles is broke. Every one of you must be financially responsible with our tax dollars and show a high degree of intelligence and wisdom during this extreme financial crisis that we are all in. Provenly failed management charge SPY is beyond irresponsible with 144 police calls since last February at Bridge Housing Venice. Do you really want a taxpayer investment such as this? And they failed to file for their 501c3 status, and they are being investigated by the California DOJ. Right? Sorry, operating. Thank you.
Caller 5033, please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
We're good for you to go back in. They can come back.
Caller 5033, please turn down your speaker and begin speaking.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Mia Lopez-Zubiri, and I'm calling about item number 11.
Thank you. You now have 1 minute.
Okay. My name is Mia, and I'm calling in to express my strong support for the Lincoln Apartments. I was born and raised in Venice, and I now work for Venice Community Housing and live in the neighborhood. I believe that everyone has a right to a safe and comfortable place to live, and our unhoused neighbors are no exception. We should be advocating for inclusive development in our community, and the Lincoln Apartments is a perfect opportunity to do this. As a 24-year-old, I also know how life-changing this project will be for the transition-age youth who will occupy some of these units and have access to supportive services from VCH and SPY. I urge the Commission to uphold the unanimous approval for this much-needed project. Thank you.
And that exhausts our speakers list for today.
All right, thank you, callers, and thank you, staff. Folks have to excuse me a little bit. I got some lawnmowers going here in my backyard, so I'll try to speak louder. This takes us to item number 8. Mr. Mejia, if we could read that into the record.
Yes, item 8, Councilman, this is, as previously noted, a motion by Councilman Cedillo Rodriguez. It's asking for a local hire requirement to be part of development agreements in the city, and as such, asking planning and city attorney to prepare and present an ordinance. Councilman Cedillo, CD1, requested amending language to the directive of the motion. I have previously read that language into the record. Not sure if you want me to reread that, Councilman.
No need to read it again. Thank you for giving us the motion. I want to check and see if there's any comments from planning staff on this matter. All right, hearing none, Mr. Cedillo, if you care to make comments or a motion to adopt.
I do. I want you to want to be really clear that the goal here is to, as we come out of COVID-19 and as we move into a new restructured economy, that we should have a workforce in these projects that looks like the people of Los Angeles. Looks like you and I and staff and people who are involved in this process right now at this very minute. And so that's the goal here. Of course, we want to work with the building trades. There are a lot of parameters here. And we look forward to going forward. I've been talking to the building trades about how we can make this work, how we can train. I think it's easy to anticipate. You don't have to be an economist to anticipate that there's going to be displacement in the service sector. We are a hugely service-driven economy because of tourism, art, entertainment, sports, etc., restaurants, cafes, etc. And so what I'm looking at is I want to put an end to the, what exists is that people are living in the hinterlands out, I don't know, Santa Clarita, Orange County, deep in the IE, and these private enclaves, and we drive in and they're working these high-rises, and there's no jobs for people in the community. And so I'm very committed to this. I want this to be local hire, people who live where the places are being built, and get the opportunities for these jobs. Having said that, I want to work with the trade. So I want to add some language here with respect to the report. I want us to get a report also on the prevailing wage projects, the JJJ projects, the development agreement projects that have been approved, and get an analysis of how many projects in the city have a mandated, state-approved, skilled, and trained workforce requirement. So I want to see what's been going on with respect to what's happening in the city. In my district, in the northern part, we have a lot of subdivisions, a lot of single units being developed. It's just the nature of that community. It's in the hillsides. And so I don't anticipate an impact on those projects going forward. But I think it's good for us to get a picture of what development looks like in the city and how we can move forward to make sure that the workforce on these projects looks like the people who live here. So that's the goal. That's our objective. I've had great conversations with the building trades on this, and I look forward to the report back. This is just the beginning of a process. Once we get a report back, we'll have more data, more information so that we can go forward, as they say, intentionally and thoughtfully and data-driven. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cedillo. Laudable goal. Appreciate your efforts on this item. We have before us a motion that's been amended by Mr. Cedillo. Can we do a roll call, Mr. Mejia?
Yes. Councilmember Harris Dawson.
Yes.
Councilmember Bob Blumenfield.
Aye.
Councilmember Curran Price.
He said aye on mute.
Okay. Councilman John Lee.
Aye.
We have a unanimous decision.
All right. Thank you so much. That item is...
Price aye.
There we go. Price
Duly noted. Duly noted, Council.
All right. That takes us to item number 9.
Just to be clear, item 8, Councilman, was adopted as amended with the the modifications that were made. Item number 9, Councilman, this is an appeal by Margarita Lopez. She's appealing the mixed-use project located in CD1, which will include 38 residential units, 4 of which will be for extremely low-income residents.
Excellent. We have a report from planning staff. I believe Mr. Turner.
Yes, good morning, council members. Hopefully you guys can hear me well. Good morning. I'm Jordan Turner with the Department of City Planning, and as previously mentioned, the project before you today is a CEQA appeal from a determination made by the Director of Planning and Advisory in conjunction with the construction of 38 residential units, including 4 set-aside units for extremely low-income households and a 1,100 square feet of commercial ground floor area.
I think you muted yourself.
Excuse me. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. As previously noted, the Director's Appeal and the TOC appeals were not appealed, TOC decisions were not appealed by the appellants. As mentioned, the Director approved a Class 3-2 infill appeal, and as noted in the appeal response dated August 27, 2020, the projects that were cited by the appellants as to the cumulative impacts were either outside the 1/4 mile impact area or not of the same type of project. Further, any successive project of the same type and nature would reflect the development that is consistent with the general plan and the underlying zoning. Further, the impacts of each subsequent project will be mitigated if necessary and thus will not result in a cumulative impact. In conclusion, the Department of City Planning recommends that the Plum Committee recommends denial of the appeal and determine that based on the whole of the administrative record, the project exempt from CEQA pursuant to CEQA Guidelines Section 15332, and that there are no substantial evidence demonstrating that an exception to a category for exemption pursuant to CEQA Guidelines applies.
Any questions for staff on this?
If I can just make sure that we have planning staff able to just respond, I believe Jordan's having a problem with his internet connection. I'm just looking for his supervisor to be able to.
I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can. We couldn't hear you before.
My apologies. Shall I repeat, or was there? Where did I cut out at?
You cut out in the last couple minutes, Jordan.
Okay.
The very last part, you're in and out. We couldn't hear you for the record. The one thing I want to clarify is you mentioned when you mentioned class 32, I think you were speaking regarding a class 32 exemption from CEQA. There may have been we had a hard time hearing what you're talking about, but I think when you mentioned the term class 32, you meant an exemption. But you want to go ahead and just the last portion of your of that.
Yes, that's correct. It's a class 32 infill exemption. And so as I mentioned, further projects, the impacts of each of those projects would be mitigated if necessary, and thus, in totality, there would be no cumulative impact. And so, I guess in conclusion again, staff recommends denial of the appeal.
All right, thank you, Mr. Turner. You'll remain here in case there are questions from members of the committee. I'll begin with Mr. Cedillo.
Long, short, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your leadership today. This is one of the most dense parts of the city. It's also part of the city that's 90% rental. That is the reflection of my district. And so what this does, it does two things. 10% of these units will be very low, affordable home ownership. And then the other units are also going to be home ownership. And so we have a community here that is not given any opportunities for home ownership. This will provide that, and it'll provide it at two levels. One, at the workforce level. MacArthur Park has proximity to downtown, a major employment area. Two, it will provide 10% of those units at a very low income level for home ownership, and that's a product that we don't see often. It's one that will help us move into home ownership in that area, which is sorely needed. As the staff has indicated, this has a 32 class exemption, and so the appeals are off point and not applicable. This is an area that's in flux, and we are working to make sure that we get the right mix both of home ownership and rental, and the right mix of low income affordability and workforce housing. So with that, I thank the staff for their work and analysis on this project and ask for an motion to deny the appeal and to move the project forward.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. It's been moved. I'll second any other comments or questions from members on this matter. All right. Seeing none, can you call the roll, Mr. Mejia?
Yes. Council Member Harris Dawson.
Yes. Deny.
Council Member Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Council Member Karen Price.
Aye.
Councilman Gilbert Cedillo.
Aye to deny.
And Council Member John Lee.
Aye.
So we have a unanimous vote to deny the appeal and thereby approve the project and adopt the CEQA findings as enumerated by the Planning Department, Mr. Turner.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mejia. That takes us to item number 11.
Council members, item 11, you have before you various appeals as it relates to a permanent supportive housing project located in CD 11. It'll have 39 permanent supportive housing units and 1 manager's unit.
All right. I believe we have a staff report, Ms. O, on this matter.
Good morning. My name is Juliette O, planning staff for item number 11. The CPC approved the previously stated entitlements to approve a 30,463 square foot mixed-use development comprised of 39 permanent supportive housing units and 1 manager's unit, as well as ground floor commercial and supportive services. The CPC also determined the project is exempt from CEQA pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15332 and Public Resources Code section 21080.27B1. 2 appeals were filed for the CPC case as well as the associated environmental review. Planning staff submitted a letter dated August 27th, outlining the appeal points and staff responses. To supplement the letter, I'd like to add that both appellants appealed the density bonus, affordable housing on and off menu incentives, as well as waivers. The action by the CPC to approve the off-menu incentives and waivers of development standards is not subject to appeal. The approval of the on-menu incentive for the increased FAR may be appealed by an adjacent owner or occupant. Appellant number 1 is noted as an adjacent owner. However, appellant 1 did withdraw their appeal. And appellant number 2 is not an adjacent owner or occupant and is unable to appeal the on-menu incentive. As provided in staff's letter, the proposed commercial and residential uses in the affordable housing project are permitted in the zone, and the CPC's decision is supported by the necessary findings. The appellants have not provided substantial evidence to support the appeal. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the appeals and is available if you have any questions.
Mr. Chair, if I may add
Yes.
that after the agenda was released, we received a community impact statement from the Venice Neighborhood Council on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe we have a representative from Council District 11 to provide testimony. You could do *6 to unmute
Good morning.
yourself.
Good morning, council members. For the record, Len Nguyen, Senior Planning Deputy for Council Member Mike Bonnet. The project before you today will provide much-needed affordable housing and supportive services that is well served by public transit along Lincoln and Venice Boulevards to address our city's urgent housing and homelessness crisis. Council Member wanted to thank the applicant Venice Community Housing Corporation and Safe Place for Youth for their great work helping people and for their willingness to work with the neighbors. Council Member also wanted to thank St. Mark's parishioners, parents, students, and the Roman Catholic Diocese of LA for reaching an agreement to support the project. The agreement's additional operational, access, design, and screening conditions will enhance the safety and security of the surrounding residents and the school church neighbors. Finally, Councilmember Bonnet wanted to thank everyone in Venice who supported the project and gave feedback. As such, Council members supports the project with the following 4 additional findings for case number CPC 2019-606-CU-DB-CDP-CDO-SPP-MEL-WDI and environmental case number ENV 2019-6070-CE for 2467 to 2471 South Lincoln Boulevard. 1, that the project is a supportive housing project within the meaning of Government Code Section 65651A and is subject to the statutory protections of Government Code Section 65650. 2, the city may only require the project to comply with written, objective standards and policies. Government Code Section 65651B1. 3, Government Code Section 65653A mandates that local government shall approve a supportive housing development that complies with the applicable requirements of Government Code Sections 65650 to 65656. And 4, Government Code Section 65654 prohibits local government from imposing any minimum parking requirements for the units occupied by supportive housing residents if the supportive housing development is located within 1/2 mile of a public transit stop. The project is located on Lincoln Boulevard and is well within the required 1/2 mile of a public transit stop. With these revisions, Councilmember Bonnet respectfully requests support for the project and denial of the appeals before you today. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nguyen and Council District 11. Is there any discussion on this item, members? All right, seeing none, Mr. Mejia, we have a motion before us as amended by Council District 11. Can you call the roll?
Yes, Councilman Harris Dawson.
Yes.
Councilman Bob Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Councilman Curran Price. Councilman Gilbert Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
And Councilman John Lee.
Aye.
We have a unanimous vote to deny the appeals, and also to adopt the additional findings that were read into the record by Mr. Nguyen. Those findings would need to be updated by the planning department and be ready when they transmit them to the city council and incorporate them into the findings of approval.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Mejia. That takes us to item number 1.
Item 1, council members. This is Mr. Bertone's weekly report.
Thank you, Chair Harris Dawson and members of the Planning and Land Use Management Committee, Ms. Bertone, Director of Planning. Just a brief update for you. You may have heard about the some updates from us in terms of implementation of and enforcement of our home sharing ordinance. So as you will remember, we started the online registration process July 1st of 2019 of last year. We began enforcement on November 1st of 2019. As of August 1st of this year, we had a 64% decrease in listings due to the enforcement activities, which equated to 23,000 fewer citywide listings, which means the end result of that is that you have more housing that gets back onto out there so that people can have more places to live and helps us in terms of our housing crisis. But something significant happened on Monday is we launched our application program interface, or API, to really help us increase our enforcement of the ordinance. And it's really a first of its kind compliance system that is a much more effective enforcement tool. What it allows for, it's designed to allow for daily, augmented daily data collection and full takedowns of unpermitted listings related to the Airbnb platform. Airbnb represents around 20% of the city's short-term rentals. And so 90% of our listings will be taken down immediately if they're not permitted under the ordinance. And so that's a significant that's significant in terms of enforcement for us. So what that means is that as soon as a listing is on their website, there's a program that we have that we've worked with one of our consultants to interface with their software program, so that listing comes down immediately if it's no longer in compliance with the ordinance, as if it doesn't have a registration number, it's exceeded its number of nights, it may be listed as a as a rent stabilized unit, etc. All of those categories of items in terms of how they're not allowed under the ordinance would come down that day, versus it's a first of the kind system. Nowhere else in the nation, or I believe in the world, has done anything like this, which is different than enforcing when it is the more traditional ways of enforcement. Is you have the listing up there, you determine that the listing's illegal, you go through these noticing requirements, and then you go through a penalty and fine process. So that could take a long time. It could take months and months for those to come down. So we're excited about that. Since the launch of the system, the overall numbers have decreased to a total of 78% of where they were last time. And we're continuing to refine the system as it gets implemented. And so we're excited about that, and we'll be giving you more updates in the future. And that concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bertone. Any questions or comments from members? Mr. Blumenfield.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate the report. How is it working with taking down folks who are not primary residents? And specifically, we've had a number of these party houses in the hills that have, some of them had to be shut down by, the DWP and all the rest. But it seems like a lot of these are actual houses that it's not the primary residence. They're being rented out for parties.
So that would be, and I have Lisa Weber on too, who's Deputy Director for Project Planning. These take down automatically all those listings that are clearly not within the parameter of the program. So for example, if someone lists, in order to register, you have to give verification that it's your primary residence. So there's various means in which that you can give us the information that determines it's a primary residence. So we have a lot of criteria for that. So you can give us certain pieces of information, say, yes, this is my primary residence. It could be copies of bills and so forth. So if they have verified that it's their primary residence, then their listing isn't taken down. But if they don't have a primary residence, they don't get a registration number, then the listing would also get taken down for that purpose. So I guess the only thing, so they should already not be there in essence. So they shouldn't be up there if they're not a primary residence. They shouldn't even be listed. Now, if for some reason someone has given us incorrect information, then we would go through the normal code enforcement process for that. Does that answer your question? I don't know if I got there. Whoever you can also.
Particular being that's having parties that is suspected of not being the primary residence, that everybody in the neighborhood says the person who actually owns it lives over there, but this is the house they rent.
Right.
But it's being listed. You're saying it goes through the regular process? How can that be expedited? How does that work?
That goes through the normal code enforcement process to get there. So that would be, so the process, okay, Lisa Weber's on, so I'll let Lisa jump in on that.
Sorry, I didn't want to step on anybody. This is Lisa Weber with the Department of City Planning. Councilman, we're working very closely with our counterparts at the Department of Building and Safety, our City Attorney's Office, and the program, and with Los Angeles Police Department with regards to these issues of the party house. And we do have the city's party house ordinance. We do see kind of a crossover enforcement effort in that regard. In some cases, there can be a legitimate short-term rental registration in place, but the property is really violating the provisions of our nuisance rules and violating the provisions of our party house ordinance. So we are working through that. We do have hotlines in place that are 24 hours. We have staff monitoring those lines on a daily basis, and we are actively pursuing enforcement efforts. For anybody who is unregistered, those are automatically being pulled down at this point in time. And certainly this would be a consideration for any extended home sharing approvals that would be granted. If there are any citations or complaints registered for a particular property.
Right, that affects the renewal, but it's not, the citations don't necessarily immediately cause the party house to have to cease operations.
Yeah, that's where the Los Angeles Police Department needs to step in to address immediate issues in real time.
And how long, you said the other thing was the normal code process once the house is flagged. How long is the normal code enforcement process once a house has been flagged to be removed?
And Jen, I'll let Lisa kind of jump in on this, but I just want to make clear that I was trying to make a distinction of. So we've done a 78% reduction of what our listings were. So assume, so in essence we've reduced the number of illegal listings down to a very, very small number, right? And so what we've done that all through the API system. They just are completely taken down immediately from the website. There's probably a smaller number of listings that could still be up because maybe there's incorrect information that's in the system and things like that. So that very small that may be left over would go through the code enforcement process, which includes sending out a warning notice, sending out letters of violation, and starting a a process of finding and going through the process that way. Lisa, if you want to kind of jump in and describe maybe that in more detail.
Sure. I mean, we're in the process now of issuing warning letters, first warning letters, second warning letters. Those are then advanced up through building and safety, through HCID, and ultimately through the ACE program with the city attorney's office for citation and for prosecution in that manner. So that is underway for a number of properties. With the API launch, a number of those properties that were in that process hopefully have come down and should have come down completely from the Airbnb platform.
And just so you know, we never thought we would get away from the traditional code enforcement process, because we know that's always going to be there. Well, the goal was to not be 100% of our code enforcement, but a very small percentage. And that's what it is. It's just a very small percentage of the enforcement against the listing is the traditional process, which takes much longer, which is what I say just about every other city in America is doing. Right? They're doing much more of a reactive kind of enforcement. So we've moved the vast majority, 90% of our listings are now in this very proactive, immediately reduce, taking those down. So all you have left over for the traditional code enforcement, which takes longer, is just that 10%. And we think that's just a hugely significant in terms of how we enforce it. Arthi Barmer's also been involved. I don't know, Arthi, if you have anything to add to our Deputy Director for Citywide Policy.
Hi, yes. Good morning, Arthi Varma, City Planning. Just following up on Lisa Weber's comments and Director Bertone's comments. The API, I think, is really the key, this application programming interface, which is this automatic system communicating with the Airbnb platform, is a new tool that was launched on Monday that is allowing all of these unregistered listings to come down immediately. So party houses that we've seen in the past, which have been unregistered, which we've been in the code enforcement process of sending them notices of violation and citations, now will be immediately taken off the Airbnb website. So people will not be able to book that party house for use. So I think that is one of our more significant changes with this API launch.
You're saying that they can't use it because it was not registered properly, or because it was a party house? How does that?
They won't be able to use it because the listing will be deactivated from Airbnb's site. So guests will not be able to book stays in an unregistered listing.
Right, but if they had if it was their primary residence, how do you? And then they had a big party there. Police broke it up. There were, way more people than should be for COVID and all the rest. Does that immediately trigger them to get off of the system? Is that what you're saying?
No, that would go through, sorry, this is Lisa Weber with City Planning, that would go through a more traditional enforcement process.
That's what you were saying earlier. I thought you were saying that there might have been, Arthur was saying that there might have been some other avenue for the party houses as well.
We do believe that there are a number of these large party houses with rentals, $20,000 a night, that may in fact not have any listing or any registration within the city's home sharing program. And so they are on the Airbnb platform advertising. And so those, as a result of the APA launch, would have been automatically removed. For others that have met the criteria and do have a valid short-term rental home sharing registration with the city, and there are issues related to nuisances and noise and party activity, we are taking note of those, and we are putting those through an enforcement process and addressing those as they come in. And certainly this would hurt their opportunities to pursue any type of extended home sharing opportunities.
Got it. No, this is great news what you guys are doing, so thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. If there's no other questions or comments, that would conclude my report.
Well, we got Mr. Price, Mr. Bertone.
Oh, Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Vince, thanks for that report. This is an exciting development. Is this some new technology that's being pioneered here in California or in Los Angeles? Or are they doing it other major cities around the country? How does that look?
We're the first and only. this is the very first system that just got implemented. So it was developed just here for Los Angeles.
At their cost, or at our cost, or shared cost, or what?
The cost of developing the system, because we hired host compliance as a. So basically, there's two parts of the system that had to get developed. Airbnb had to build their part of the system, and we hired host compliance to build our part of the system. I'll let Arthi Barma get into that details of that.
Yeah, we have a consultant, host compliance, Mr. Bertone mentioned, who is our technical consultant, our engineer, if you will, who worked with the technical consultants at Airbnb to produce this software programming system.
Thank you. Well, good luck to us. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, Mr. Cedillo, Mr. Lee? All right. Seeing none, I'll just conclude this section by thanking Mr. Bertone for his report. It's exciting news. It's nice moments when Los Angeles lives up to its or moves into its standing as, I think, the greatest and most innovative big city in the world. And this is an example of that. So big props to the work that you all have done. I also want to thank Mr. Blumenfield for raising the issues about party houses. And this isn't so much a question as a statement, but I would love you all's comments on it. This is a place where the city's demand and the charge that we've taken as a council and as a city to reimagine public safety, this concept of code enforcement fits into that. Because if we do the code enforcement right, the party never happens, LAPD doesn't have to show up, the crime that they're showing up for never happens, and then whatever happens as a result of the interactions between the partygoers and our officers never happens if we can get the thing shut down before it happens. And our code enforcement is a place that we don't often think about when we talk about public safety. But if we have the urgency in making sure we have enough code enforcement officers, that they have the tools and the resources they need, and they have the best information technology available to them, a lot of these things can contribute to public safety in a way where we never put our officers in a position where, one, a crime has already happened, and two, they have a confrontation, which is quite scary to drive up to a party house with God knows how many people in it, under what circumstances they're there, if that could have been stopped before it happened. So Mr. Bertone's nodding, so I'm taking that as 100% agreement with my.
Yeah, thank you.
With that, we will adopt this report, Mr. Mejia, without objection. Can you confirm that concludes our business for today?
Yes, Councilman. Just want to make one statement. For item 11, the community impact statement that was received by the clerk's office, the clerk has requested that I indicate that it was against the project. And also, just to reemphasize that for item 11, the appeals are denied, inclusive of the appeal that was withdrawn. So just want to make clear that. And that concludes the meeting, Council.
Excellent. Thank you. And with that, I'll put forward a motion to adjourn. Without objection, that'll be the order. Thank you to the staff and to everybody who's called in and our members of this committee. We are adjourned.
Thanks, Mayor Priest.